aviators, my name's Alejandro Martinez, and I will be talking about the master switch and circuit breakers for my project today. Before I talk about circuit breakers and the master switch, first we need to figure out what a circuit is. Without a circuit, there is no purpose for the master switch and or circuit breakers. If you don't know what a circuit is a closed loop that electrons can travel through. Sources of electricity such as power coming from a battery can flow through this loop. In this loop, such as the battery being contained, switches or circuit breakers can be put in this, sometimes even fuses. What that does is that a switch can turn off and on, a circuit breakers can pop if there is an overload of power, and a fuse can simply just burn out. What we are looking at right now is a circuit box that is located in my house. Very similar to the airplane circuit breakers, except that this is powered directly off your grid instead of a battery or coming off the alternator of the aircraft. These circuit breakers hold the same purpose, as they will protect us from overloading through the wiring or overheating. What these things would do is there is a little metal plate in there, and the metal plate will simply just heat up, and because of the heat expands things. It will expand it and pop it out, as you saw in the short video that I had in the last clip over there. Household circuit breakers are very, very different than the airplane circuit breakers in the way that they pop. On aircraft circuit breakers, they will simply just pop out, while with these circuit breakers, they will simply just pop over like that, and a small red dash would come along there. And then you'll just push it back like this. But with an aircraft circuit breaker, you would simply just push it back in.
Push it real good!
Now that we know a little bit about how the circuit breakers work in the box, let's talk about the parts that are inside of a circuit breaker. First, we'll start off with the push-pull button. The push-pull button is used as it says, where it's either pushed or pulled. Pulling it will disconnect the circuit from the latch mechanism. Pushing it back in will then latch the mechanism back on up. Of course, the circuit breaker is going to have its terminals. Without the terminals, you cannot hook up the power to it. Next is our latch mechanism, which is latched with these two L brackets. Those L brackets are what are keeping our circuit complete. Connected to the bottom L bracket is a thermal element. This thermal element with a push rod connected to it, pushing on the L bracket when it heats up, will then flick it, forcing this spring to push up on the top lever at the top, pushing your button out, which then disconnects the circuit. Without the circuit being connected, power will not flow through. Let's talk about the master switch. The master switch, as the name implies, is the master switch of the aircraft. It controls all electric flow throughout the aircraft, from the battery to the alternator. This is the dashboard of the aircraft that you would be flying. Right to your bottom left.
Hello there.
Right there. That is where the master switch is located. The master switch on an airplane is a split rocker type switch That means there's two switches integrated into one switch that you can control by clicking one side or the other side. The left side of the switch is labeled Alt, meaning alternator, where if you turn that on, you will only directly pull power from the alternator. The right side of it is labeled Bat, which means battery. So if you flick that side, you will only be pulling power from the battery. Normally, both master switches should be on. However, the battery side can be turned on separately to check equipment while on the ground. You can still fly your plane without using the alternator, but it will slowly drain your battery, which you don't want. So that's why you can turn on the alternator to recharge your battery. The reason the master switch was integrated into airplanes was due to if your battery were to go out or have some malfunction where it wasn't good to use, you could just close that circuit off from the battery and only use the alternator. Same with the alternator, where if there is something wrong with your alternator and you don't want that being in the circuit, which could, mess up your electronics, you would close that circuit off. That's why you have the master switch, to close the circuits off. This next part, now we're going to see how they make circuit breakers and master switches. Nah, I'm just playing. That's it. Thank you for watching my video presentation.